Hey, it's CDA and welcome back to Captain of Industry. And even though this is far from my most popular series ever, I do really like the fact that there's a lot of you giving me some feedback and tips and tricks and things like that, which honestly is just a lot of fun to just interact with you guys like that. So I'm just gonna keep this series going and we'll see how far we can take it until you just massively start throwing things at your screen, because I will probably keep messing up a lot. Now, what I want to do today is actually several things. I want to kind of consolidate what we have. I don't think, as far as I know at least, that we're doing all that bad. There's a couple of tips and tricks that I got from you in the comments as well, which I'm hopefully going to implement today as well. And we're going to kind of redo and optimize a couple of things we already have. And in the meanwhile, of course, we are going to be progressing as well. So that's a lot of things to do. One thing I actually am not entirely sure about is why these pickups are just standing here. It says it cannot deliver coal. Okay, I thought this was actually carrying rocks. That was just me looking at this and thinking this was rocks. But this is coal, and we actually have all the coal we need. Honestly, we seem to be doing really well with our mining. Pretty much everything we have, you can see here the iron melting is going to go pretty much according to plan as well. We have copper melting happening over here. Well, at least that's the plan, but it doesn't seem to be doing a lot. Why is this not doing a lot? Because this is not doing anything. Why is this not doing anything? Probably because we don't have an output set. Okay, so let's go and fix that. Okay, there we go. Nothing fancy, but just a little bit of input and output over here. Well, input here and output there, I should say. And as you can see, we're now producing a lot of copper, but that's not really a problem. What was actually a problem that was pointed out to me in the comments that I actually hadn't realized is that we only have one food market, and apparently a food market can only store one type of food, which honestly I hadn't realized until someone told me. So the vegetables that we are now producing in our farms over here, because we are alternating the recipes over here, we are actually now going to be able to export in this second food market over here that's going to have a storage place for the vegetables. So that is good. Now, in terms of construction parts, as you can see, we are still very low on that. And the main reason for that is that we are currently having an issue producing bricks, because we need bricks in order to make the construction parts over here. We have plenty of wood, that's not a problem, plenty of iron as well, but we are lacking bricks. And the reason we are lacking bricks is, like I pointed out in the previous episode, the fact that we don't actually have enough dirt. So, the real question is, how are we going to fix that? Well, I think that, and I think that was also pointed out in the comments as well, what we could do is build another excavator along with a couple of pickup trucks and just have this lowering hills. So basically just digging out the hills that we already have, that will give us plenty of sand, and as a result we should also be able to build a lot of bricks. Now, on top of that, we can also start researching concrete. This was actually recommended to me in the comments as well. And initially I looked at this and I was like, why would we start producing concrete? And then I realized that with limestone and coal you can make cement. With cement and sand and several other things actually, we can make concrete. And I was like, okay, but how is this going to help? But we actually get a lot more recipes over here, so we can actually start making construction parts, like we are now making from bricks, from concrete instead. So that actually makes complete sense to me, and it also means we remove the reliance on dirt, even though eventually that might not be a bad thing, but for now it is. And that also means that we can just simply start mining limestone and coal. We have plenty of coal, so that's not a problem. Not entirely sure where we are going to get the limestone. I'll check that out in a moment. But if we can do that, then pretty much our problem is going to be solved. Also, of course, we do actually need sand and either gravel or slag crushed. But slag crushed is something we can easily make from slag, which is a byproduct of our iron production at the moment. So we're going to have a supply of that anyway. And as well, rocks, we're going to have plenty of those as well. So either way, this works, and we can also use multiple recipes if that's what we want to do. And when it comes to getting that sand and limestone, it looks like we have a lot of sand over here. We actually have a bit of sand at the beaches as well, so plenty of sand to go around. There's a whole beach of sand here as well. And if I can actually spot the colors correctly, because honestly these things are really close together, I think this coastline over here is going to get us all the limestone we need. So we should have all the stuff that we need. We actually are getting a warning that we can't store the vegetables, but that means we are just going to have to get this built as soon as possible, but we're just low on construction parts. We're kind of like in a death spiral at the moment, because we're not making enough construction parts to build all the other things we need. But it's not really a death spiral, because we can actually start producing some bricks. It's just a little bit our, well, it's not a little bit, it is our definite bottleneck at the moment. That said, look at this, we have our excavator up and running now. And honestly, I keep forgetting that I can actually trade stuff as well in this game, which is honestly really awesome. So we can kind of solve our bottlenecks by just getting ourselves a little bit of bricks and stuff like that by spending some of our iron, some of our wood. We all have plenty of that, so that's not really a problem. And just get some more useful stuff in return. So I think that should be enough. Which actually reminds me, as a side note, someone also pointed out that when we are exploring locations, we do actually get stuff, and you can see that by these notifications. So we actually also discovered a technology, which is awesome. But we also get quite a bit of other useful stuff from just exploring these zones. So all in all, that was actually really useful to do. I had a feeling I was not getting anything from that, but I was actually getting some resources for that, so we were not doing that in vain. Looks like we can't actually explore any further up here, which is a little bit disappointing. But I have a feeling that at some point where this is going to be our bottleneck, and then we'll have to build some ships that can actually break through. Okay, so I'm just gonna start digging a hole in this wall over here, and that's not gonna give us any resources, but it is going to give us plenty of dirt and rocks, and that means we should be producing bricks, at least until we can actually transition to concrete. I also ordered in a whole bunch of more bricks just from the other colony. We had plenty of other resources to spare, so it looks like we're actually producing a fair amount of these construction parts now, so that should solve that problem for the moment. Now, then the real question is, what do I do next? It does seem that we have our food issue solved here. We actually have a boatload of vegetables. It's a little bit more than I was expecting, but that's a good thing. We are up to 30 months of food, actually, so that's really good. I actually, just a few moments ago, I was still working with a warning that we were getting not enough food. So I'm really happy that you pointed out that I needed that vegetable food market for that. Okay, so next step, concrete. Okay, so interesting observation here. I can't actually place the mining tower I want to have here for the limestone. At least not everywhere I would want it to be placed. We can place it. There's a little bit of flat room here somewhere. Here we go. But it's really interesting to note that apparently these hills are too steep, which I didn't actually realize. So this is also an area we might want to flatten out pretty soon, rather than digging a hole in the wall. Maybe, I don't know. Let's find out, but for now I think this will do. Meanwhile, to help our dirt production a little bit, let's set up a storage unit that we always want to have a little bit of dirt in it, so we can actually feed this thing with dirt. Once again, I know we are hopefully going to be replacing this soon, but until that point I do need quite a bit of bricks, because we need construction parts for pretty much everything we're trying to build at the moment. Speaking of which, we have a little mining setup over here for the limestone. We can now assign one of the excavators I just built for that, along with some trucks. And then hopefully we should start these things filling up soon. Again, let me know in the comments, how do you usually set up your mining constructs? I know I could look this up with other YouTubers and things like that, but I kind of don't want to do that. I like interacting with you guys. So for the moment, I'm just setting up kind of like dirt and rocks and whatever we're actually mining. So in this case, the limestone. There's some loose storage over here just to make sure we actually are putting it somewhere. We're stocking up on it a little bit. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure this is optimal, because actually stocking it up where it needs to go might be smarter. It's just basically creating an additional buffer, which makes sure that these trucks that are assigned to the excavator can focus on actually delivering it, at least initially here. And then the other trucks that are basically just driving around and trying to do everything, just delivering whatever is needed, can come and pick it up later on whenever it's needed. But for the moment, it seems to be working. I also set up a very similar facility over here, But I apparently don't have an excavator yet. What is happening with that? Oh, we are actually building it right now. So that covers the basic products. Now we need a rotary kiln in order to actually make the cement. And then we need what? The real question is, what do we want to focus on in terms of making everything else? And I think, even though we have quite a few options here, that it might make most sense to go with the slag crushed version, because we know we're going to be producing plenty of slag because we are producing iron. But that means that in order to make the slag crushed, the crushed slag, not entirely sure why it's called that, we need a crusher. That makes sense. In order to do that. So let's set a couple of those things up. Oh, so this is actually interesting. The crusher actually needs to have the ore imported pretty high on, by the looks of it. So not entirely sure why that is, but we can make that work. But if that is the case, I probably want to get this up as high as we can. Well, not as high as we can, but at least higher than what it is now. How high is this? No, this is not as high as I want. Okay, let me struggle with the controls there for a moment. Okay, so I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do this, and I actually considered getting this belt all the way over here, but because of the height difference and stuff like that, it didn't really work out as I wanted to. So what I decided upon is just to set the production in such a way that I'm requesting a little bit of slag over here. I'm actually exporting all of that over here. So whenever this has a complete truck full of slag, one of the trucks will come pick it up, dump it in over here, as long as that works like I think it does. And that means that everything is just going to be transported easily as well. That does mean that we have a truck driving up and down here every now and then. But because we have trucks bringing in the raw resources anyway, I don't really think that's going to be a problem. We do have a little bit of crushed slag produced now. It is actually not as much as I was thinking it was going to be. And why is that? Oh, that's again still because we are actually bottlenecked by the brick production. So I think it's time that we transition this part to the actual concrete. Okay, so here is the setup. We have a couple of storage units for all the loose materials. We are feeding all of that into a concrete mixer to make sand, cement, slag crushed, and water into concrete slabs over here. And I actually already transitioned one of my iron factories over here because we're not producing that many bricks anyway, into a facility that's going to be accepting the concrete. Now the main problem continues to be that I need more construction part, so I'm going to once again order something from abroad. Someone actually mentioned that it might be wiser to have 3 pickers assigned to a excavator, and honestly I think that's actually a pretty good call because I find these excavators often doing nothing. Also, why are you standing still? Where are you trying to go? You are carrying rocks and you apparently have... I don't know. You're just standing there. Why? Because I paused the game. That's why. Never mind. Not sure why or when I did that. But you are driving and dropping the rocks off the cliff over here. We're actually extending our area a little bit. I was thinking we can actually crush ore into gravel. And we can actually use the same gravel to make cement, sand, gravel, and water into concrete slabs as well. So, does it make sense to double up on the recipes and just have that as a backup, just in case we run out of, well, not sand. Why are we running out of sand? That seems really weird to me. We have this area over here, where apparently nothing is happening. It does actually help if you assign the trucks. Oh boy. So let's assign 3 of them as well, and that does imply that I probably want to build a couple of trucks on top of the ones I already have as well. So let's do that. And then hopefully we're now actually going to be mining this sand so we can get things rolling. Also, I set up a pipeline over here all the way from where we were actually pumping our water. A lot of people didn't hesitate to point out to me that if I built this as a 2 height, then trucks can still pass underneath. I knew that actually, I just hadn't found a reason to build a high belt or a high pipe, or I think you're actually supposed to build like these tiny bridges across the belts. Either way, I figured why not just make a nice little pipeline all the way to our cement facility. Now, again, this is going to cost me a ton of construction parts, which we actually want to start making from the cement. So again, hopefully once we get all of this sorted and up and running, we should finally get some decent construction parts production up and running again. I also just realized that we actually can get 54 crude oil per minute into one of these refineries, and these ones are only producing 80 per minute, 18 per minute I should say. So apparently we need 3 of these in order to fully ratio out this basic distiller, which is probably a good thing because now I'm actually running pretty low on diesel, because I'm not actually sure why we're running low on diesel, but either way, probably because we're actually producing a lot of power at the moment, because we actually need a little bit more. So we are going to have to extend this as well. And yes, I'm actually learning the shortcuts in this game as well. So let's set up another diesel generator. Do I actually have another way to make power just yet? I don't think we do. Let me check. No, it's just a diesel generator for now. So either this is going to be working just fine, or we might actually need to double up on this whole setup over here. But let's first actually get the concrete production up and running, which I think it should be now. Let's see. Yes, it is actually running. We have a decent amount of sand incoming now. We have some slag coming in. Let's actually erase this a little bit, because we can probably use a little bit more of that just to make sure that there's always something coming in. Again, we do have that power problem here, which is now also affecting this production. But this means we have a steady inflow of concrete now, which also means I can switch this to concrete. Then I already selected both recipes over here. We can actually finish up on making use of the bricks that we bought. And then we should soon see some concrete slab production getting filled in here as well. Now I'm actually wondering if I want to switch this or just keep it at bricks for the moment. And actually I think I'll just keep it at bricks, because we are actually now getting in pretty decent amount of dirt as well. So we should see... Why is this not producing still? What are you lacking? Waiting for products. Which products are you waiting for? Oh, still the dirt actually. Okay. Well, hopefully... this whole excavation over here is going to solve that pretty quick. Not entirely sure why the dirt is stacking up here, even though we need it elsewhere. Maybe just because we don't have enough of it. Not entirely sure. We probably don't need to keep all this this rock in here, so we can have that exported as well. And let's see, what is going on over here with the sand? Is this working? Yep, it does seem to be working just fine. So that's awesome. That's actually a lot of machines added. Now, how are we doing on workers? We are getting a little bit low on workers. That means we might need to expand our city a little bit further. So let's be a little bit proactive and do that as well. There we go. And then what else? We actually do have a quest to start upgrading our research labs. These things we can upgrade. This is going to cost us construction parts number 2. We do have that. It's going to cost us some electronics, which apparently we don't have yet, and then it needs the lab equipment. Where the hell do I make a lab equipment? Okay, that was a recipe I already unlocked. So we just need an assembly 2, and then we can make some mechanical parts and electronics into that lab equipment. I'll just set that to get up and running over here. I'm not entirely sure how much lab equipment we need, but we might as well just have another storage for that as well. So let's copy one of these and maybe set that up something like this. And then we don't need vehicle parts, but we want lab equipment here instead. Well, with all of this production up and running, look at all those trucks zooming around. We do actually have a logistics problem now with our trucks, because they are delivering so many of those raw goods up and down to these factories over here that we probably need to construct some more of these pickups, which is once again going to press on my diesel production as well. So I'm actually thinking, maybe to be safe, we duplicate this facility. Maybe not with the power generation necessarily, because we do have, well, maybe plenty of power, actually. Is there a downside of just building some more of this and some more power production? It only seems to be consuming the power when it actually needs it, so I actually don't think there is a problem with that. Now what I could do is just copy this entire facility, but that's going to be a little bit awkward and not really space efficient, I believe. So let's do it slightly different. Right, so if I do it like this, we have a whole bunch of some more of these pumps over here. We connect these up to another one of these basic distillers over here that is going to be producing some more diesel. We're burning that off. We're also exporting the same waste into the waste bucket over here, so that should be fairly efficient. It's not the prettiest layout in history, but works for now. And then we're also putting in the diesel in the main storage facility that we have over here. We're actually running out of diesel now, so I'm a little bit scared about that. But we have the first pump up and running already, so I think we should just be fine. We're actually also producing a fair amount of Unity now, and I'm still spending it every now and then, so this is a very interesting concept that I actually really like about this particular game, because we are actually able to put all of these points into some pretty decent use as well. How is our concrete factory doing over here? It seems to be chugging along just fine. We have some concrete coming in here every now and then, and we do have a fair amount of construction parts. Now, it seems like we are really low on it, but that's just because I'm constructing stuff almost non-stop. So hopefully once we get into a little bit of a more quiet moment for a moment, that should fix itself. How are we actually doing on bricks? We do also have a pretty decent amount of brick production now up and running. Now we actually are getting in dirt. So that also should imply that this should start working pretty soon as well. How did I configure this, by the way? No, this should be working just fine. We do still have that power issue. We do still have that diesel issue. So we definitely need to get this up and running ASAP. Oh, I just realized what we can actually do is we can also buy some diesel just by using coal, which might be worthwhile just for a moment to make sure that we don't run out of it. Dear Lord, I just realized that the Research Lab 2 actually costs 200 kilowatts of power. If you compare that to the other one, that's 5 times as much. And this is researching at 3.2 per 60, and this is only at 4.0 at 60. Why would we ever want to upgrade to Research Lab number 2 if we can just do the same thing for a lot less power? Almost the same thing with a lot less power. This way. There's probably a reason for that. We might actually need the upgraded version in order to do the more advanced science, although I honestly can't really make heads or tails of this, because this actually doesn't require input. It also doesn't require lab equipment, which this one apparently does. So yeah, let me know in the comments. I'm probably missing something. I didn't really look into it just yet, but is there a reason we actually need these science labs too? Oh yeah, we do actually. So we do need that for the power generation. Okay, that answered that question. Never mind me. In the meanwhile, how are we doing on everything? Actually not that bad as far as I can tell. We are now producing bricks, we are producing cement. You can actually see that working here. I'm actually going to boost this for a little bit, because this is definitely the item we need the most. We do need to remember to turn this off at some point, but it's very easy to see what's actually happening here. We're bringing in some more workers. Do I still have the beacon on? Yes, I do. All in all, feels like we're not doing too bad. We have plenty of room for more people. We do need some more new workers, but that should be fine. What's happening over here? What's this cross do? We have a warning here. Vehicles can't reach the basic distiller, but they don't... Actually, they do need to reach that, because we need to have it bring in coal. But... why? You can't drive in here? That's a problem. Well, we need to solve that. Okay, so I think this should do the trick. I set up a coal storage over here that is now putting its coal into this basic distiller and into this one. And that still means the trucks can't reach it, but I don't think there's any reason for a truck to now go here, because we're getting the oil directly from the pipeline and the coal directly from this belt. So that should be fixed. I really like how this looks, by the way, just as an FYI. Oh look, and we actually do have the coal going in here now. So all working like intended, I think. So then there's another thing I want to do, because we have this random diesel generator sitting out here, and that doesn't really make sense if we're producing all our diesel over here. So let's actually just double up on the diesel generators over here, connect them with a pipeline, And then I think we can delete the diesel generator that we have working all the way up there. Oh, something else to note. I thought this was going to be our bottleneck, but it seems to be that there's pirates everywhere. So interested to see what we're going to be doing about that, but that's probably not going to be happening in this particular episode. So I'm removing this diesel generator over here now. I actually did build another part of the settlement just to be a little bit preemptive in expanding. I think we have enough food for this. I'm hoping. I'm not mistaken about this, but honestly it seems to be the fact that we're doing fine. We're actually just still gaining food over here. Yeah, other than that, everything seems to be in working order. We are producing more sand than we can use, so that's a thing. Honestly, we're doing pretty good on all our production as far as I can tell. We have everything just working in order. We're storing up some of the more basic resources. We're dumping a little bit here and there. Even though we're not dumping that much because we're actually using not everything, but we're using most of our sand, our dirt, etc. So all in all, it's just the waste from the city actually going here, I think. And maybe a little bit of, what is this? What are you carrying? Oh, the rocks, of course. We are not using the rocks just yet. I did consider building a crusher for that. As you can see, we are producing more than enough slag. Now we are actually, basically, the concrete is turning into slag, or it's turning into construction parts, I should say. And because we are producing the construction part, as a side product, we're producing more slag. So we have kind of a very efficient rotation going on here in terms of production. We are actually pretty good now on construction parts. Again, it looks like we're a little bit lower than we are, but that's just because I just built a couple of things again. So all in all, I think we did a pretty good job at consolidating our stuff that we already had. We have a very much working village now. And we actually doubled up on the diesel production as well. As you can see, I'm doing just fine on that now. Caught that just in time. I actually got some critical warnings and things like that, so there's definitely a way to lose the game by running out of diesel, I think, although you can probably just buy some diesel like I just did before as well, so it's probably not as hard of a deadlock as I initially thought it might be. But it does mean we are probably going to have to think about more efficient ways to produce power, because honestly, this is not going to cut it, especially not if we're going to have to upgrade one or two of these research stations to level 2 as well. Now, that means we have some access to advanced diesel soon, some power generation, so that's exactly the things I was just talking about. And honestly, I really like the tuning of the game in that regard, because it feels like as soon as you are running into a certain problem, basically the next technology is going to help you solve exactly that problem. So that means, no surprise there, that some real thought and balancing went into this. So I think that's where we're going to leave it for now. I do want to keep these episodes a little bit on the short side, also to allow you to chime in and basically tell me what I'm doing wrong, which I'm sure is still a lot. So we have the concrete production up and running now. Like I said, I feel it's probably time that we are going to be looking at some power production, advanced diesel, things like that. But if there's something obvious that I'm missing here, maybe things like the custom services, which I think actually makes your trucks run better and things like that, then let me know. We can always shift priorities or just take that up in the next episode as well. Either way, if you're still here, you're awesome, and I do hope to catch you in the next one.